Good morning, everybody. We have a mixed trade in the grain markets here early on Friday morning. It is 6:30 a.m. Central Time. March corn futures are up 1 3/4 at 536. March soybeans down 3/4 of a cent at 14.29 3/4. March Chicago wheat up 17.5 cents at 687.5. March Kansas City wheat up 18 cents at 654 3/4. Before I get going here, guys, remember, if you are watching on the YouTube channel, I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. It will really help me out in terms of the YouTube algorithms and the way that YouTube works. If you are listening on the podcast, very much appreciate it. Make sure you leave me a review if you haven't already. If you like listening to this thing every day, leave me a review, maybe a couple of comments. I would really appreciate that as we move into the weekend. And as always, remember, guys, if you need some help from me, go to my website. It is www.standardgrain.com. You can go to that website, click on Grain Marketing Plan here in the upper right-hand corner. For $49 a month, I'll send you my morning email. I'll send you my text message service. I'll let you know exactly how I'm marketing these crops throughout the year. It's broken down by crop year, and by percentage. So certainly give that some consideration. To get into some of the headlines this morning, Russia plans to extend its wheat export tax, and we've heard a lot about this here recently. The current proposal involves a tax of $30 per ton from February 15th through March 1st, and then a $50 per ton tax from March 1st through June 30th. And then I guess the latest here is that Russia will continue to tax wheat exports into the new marketing year, which begins on July 1st. And these are all kind of proposals at this point. I don't know that anything is set in stone. This is, in my opinion, considered to be a very friendly headline. I think that this is probably responsible for a lot of the upside we've seen in the wheat here just even this morning. But a headline like this could go very quickly in the other direction very fast. I mean, if they were to come out and scrap this proposal or go with something different, that could be a game changer in the wheat market. But for now, I think this is considered to be a friendly input. The incoming Biden administration is planning another round of stimulus, a $1 trillion COVID stimulus package called the American Rescue Plan. Calls for an additional $1,400 for qualified Americans. The plan will also include child tax credits, higher earned income tax credits, additional assistance for renters, all sorts of stuff here. In total, this package would put total U.S. COVID stimulus at about $4.8 trillion. For perspective, you go back to 2009 when they did the bank bailout. They called it the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act at the time. That bill cost a total of $800 billion. So we have eclipsed that several times over. Now, financial markets, I think, largely expected this. I think that they knew that once Biden got in, there would be additional stimulus. I don't think that this is a big surprise, but a lot of this, I think, kind of ties to what's going on, in my opinion, at least in the grain markets and in some of the other financial markets. There's just an enormous sum of dollars floating around that needs to find a home. And some of it's finding a home in the grain markets. A lot of it's finding a home in the stock market. I really think we are seeing some generalized inflation in just about every asset. And I've discussed that at length here. And I think that these are all related to some extent. Now, this is also kind of a related story. U.S. interest rates will stay near zero for the foreseeable future. That's what Fed Chair Jerome Powell said yesterday. His quote, when the time comes to raise interest rates, we'll certainly do that. And that time, by the way, is no time soon. Powell was also questioned regarding the possibility of inflation, and he kind of downplayed this, I think. He said, if inflation were to move up in ways that are unwelcome, we have the tools for that and we will use them. And the tool for that is higher interest rates. So I don't think he makes it sound like he's not concerned about inflation, because I don't think he wants to scare the market. And there are people who spend their entire lives trying to dissect what the Fed says and what they may do. I'm not one of those people, but in my view, he was kind of downplaying the inflationary fears here, certainly. Last week's corn and soybean export sales were strong. Net soybean sales for the week, 908,000 metric tons. They were up 93% from the prior 4-week average, best since mid-December. Soybean sales have generally trended lower since peaking in September, early October. It's totally normal, totally seasonal, not not surprising, but last week's sales were good. Corn sales of 1.437 million metric tons were up 34% on the week from the prior 4-week average, also the best since mid-December. We've got a crush report from NOPA this morning. Traders estimate that NOPA members crushed 185 million bushels of soybeans in December, which would be a record for the month and the second best for any month on record if realized. If that's confirmed, crush for the 2020 calendar year would eclipse the 2 billion bushel mark for the first time ever. USDA is projecting crush for the marketing year, which ends on August 31st, at 2.2 billion bushels. So we're looking for a record crush for the marketing year also. Crush margins, I discussed this yesterday a little bit. Crush margins have fallen substantially in recent sessions and could curb demand a little bit in the second and third quarter, certainly. Remember, the grain markets are closed on Monday in observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Following today's normal close, we will reopen on Monday night at 7 o'clock Central Time. Taking a quick look at the drought monitor here. You know, this drought continues to push really from west to east, and I'll throw this up on the screen here, and I'm sure everybody's seen this, but the drought continues to push from west to east, and you've got, you know, some stage of drought now over North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, into the northern, say, 2/3 of Kansas. Oklahoma's actually seen some relief here as of late, but, you know, for the corn and soybean markets, corn and soybean growers, I mean, in the Dakotas, in Minnesota, in the western, say, half of Iowa, you've even got a band here across Illinois, into Indiana that's been very dry. These are things that will start to matter. I think if you move out, you know, another couple months, planting isn't that far from now, guys. This is going to come up real fast, and this is something that we've got to pay attention to. And maybe the bigger issue is that there's very little relief in sight. This is the expected precipitation between now and the end of the month. And this whole stretch here from North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, most of Kansas, Iowa, Minnesota too. I mean, nobody in that area is going to see more than an inch of rain between now and the end of the month. Most areas are going to see less than a half an inch of rain, according to this morning's forecast. So I'm not going to like ring the drought bell here and tell you that the markets have to go up on this, but it's definitely something that you have to pay attention to and bears watching as we move forward. The cattle market finished yesterday mostly lower, marginal losses in the nearby fat cattle contracts. Feeder cattle were down almost $1 in some of the nearby contracts. Cash trade was like 106 to 109 in the north, and then in the south mostly 111. Boxed beef market was up yesterday. Ahead of the cash open, the S&P's down 11 points. The Dow's down 124. We have the crude oil market down 52 cents at 53.05 in the February WTI. U.S. dollar's a little bit higher this morning, and again, the dollar continues to hold above those 2018 lows. We've got the precious metals just a little bit lower. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Remember, NOPA report today. We're off on Monday in the grain markets. A lot of the other markets will trade on Monday. The grain markets will not. I will talk to you on Tuesday.